Hello, I'm Tony Guida. This is My New York. Special treat today. This show is designed to dazzle. It's all about an authentic Broadway baby.
Let's hear it for the ladies who lunch. Everybody rise!
Elaine Stritch with the scorching Sondheim anthem from Company that made her a legend. The socialite from Detroit who became Broadway's enduring dame, Stritch was absolutely magnificent, or a colossal pain in the ass, depending on who was talking. Decide for yourself after reading this new book, Still Here, The Madcap, Nervy, Singular Life of Elaine Stritch. Author Alexandra Jacobs is a veteran cultural critic and editor at the New York Times. You will love her sublime Stritch stories. Next. Alexandra Jacobs, how nice to have you here.
How nice to be here.
Good book, good book.
Thank you.
Let us start with the late 60s. Stritch at that point is over 40. She's got a string of rave notices behind her and 2 Tony nominations on her resume, and yet she's out of work. Her career is on the rocks. She's tending bar at Elaine's. It seems to me it's echt Stritch. I mean, it's the fundamental Stritch story in close-up, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And she would look back on that time. It was one of the darkest intervals of her life, you know, and she looked at it as having made the wrong choice because she says she turned down the Angela Lansbury Maris role in Anyone Can Whistle because she wanted to star with a real movie star, Lawrence Harvey, in Time of the Barracudas in Los Angeles.
Which was a flop.
Huge flop. And then Kennedy was shot, and, you know, she just...
Life spiraled down. But I can't, you know, I know she had a way of embellishing or changing stories that she would tell people. But the bottom that she was at in 67, 8, 9 couldn't have just been because of one wrong choice.
No, I mean, her drinking had gone from being something that was very much of its moment. I mean, I feel one of the reasons Stritch's story attracted me was that the story of her drinking is sort of her affair with drinking is sort of America's affair with drinking. So she's born during Prohibition, the very height of Prohibition, and then Prohibition's lifted, and then, you know, then comes cocktail culture, and everyone's having a great time.
Yeah.
And she's doing it to an extreme, and then, you know, it all gets to be too much. And
she had acquired a reputation at that point of being untrustworthy, as a potential hire.
That's right, but I think that's in large measure because, unlike a lot of people who drink, she talked about it. The other thing about Stritch is that, or one of the many things about Stritch is that before it was even a phrase, she had no filter. She was authentic. You know, she's all those things we say now as they're buzzwords, but she was those things before they were buzzwords. And so I think she was punished. Not that she didn't drink or wasn't difficult, but I think she was punished more because.
Well, in terms of what you say of her being unfiltered and saying what was on her mind, she said, "I couldn't go on stage without 2 drinks." And then later in the interview, she says about her personal life, "My life I've loused up altogether."
Yeah.
So, she didn't hold anything back. She put it all out there.
That's right.
And I wonder if she was punished or held to account out of proportion. In other words, there were men actors drinking.
Think of the Rat Pack. Just look at the Rat Pack. I mean, there's a time in the book when she goes on a talk show, probably much like this one, with a highball at her side, and some gossip columnist just kidding. And some gossip columnist dutifully reports this. And Dean Martin's out there with a glass. Other people are out there with a glass. Stritch is the one whose reputation suffered. With the men, it was seen as, charming and part of their, and she was seen as a drunk.
She was a kaleidoscope of insecurities. There's a lot throughout the book. I mean, she just starts I think, very young. You have her as a tot, acting out. Talk about that.
Well, I think I think her. I'm not a big believer in the importance of birth order, but I think there is something about being the youngest of 3 same-sex siblings. But, there's always the thought like, did my, and sisters especially.
Yeah.
I mean, plays have been written about 3 sisters, movies have been written about 3 sisters. In Elaine's case, her father was known to have wanted and spoke about wanting boys and wanting them all to be boys.
Yeah.
So I feel there was this sort of feeling, that she might have been a disappointment. And her older sisters were very beautiful, competent, accomplished, traditional, successful. And I think she felt like she had to make her marks. I think she felt, this wasn't necessarily true, but that she wasn't as attractive or at ease as they were, and she had to sing and dance to get attention and get love.
Well, she says, or at least I think you say in the book, she was never comfortable with her appearance, and I think you quote her as saying, I felt I had to be a million laughs.
That's right.
To get people to like me.
That's right.
Or love me, she said.
Yeah.
She's in the high, I love that scene. She's in the high chair.
Oh, yeah.
In the living room or dining room or wherever, and they're all talking. The family is talking, and she's jumping up doing, tell us.
Me now, look, me now, just demanding attention. I mean, it's a big family, and the mother and father, fascinating personalities. It was a big family of big personalities, and I think that's could have been its own little book, is just tracing the history of the Stritch family.
She was saying stuff, all the time. She said, one life is not enough for me.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a nurse, a doctor, a whore, and a queen.
Yeah.
So, that says to me, she didn't know what she wanted. She knew she wanted to be a success.
She knew she wanted to be a success. Her mother was a very traditional homemaker, and I think, this is speculation, but I think she was a frustrated intellect, and she'd been super accomplished, the Mildred Stritch, in her finishing school, and she'd learned all these languages and musical instruments, and then she married a guy who's pulling himself up by his bootstraps and went from being a clerk at the rubber company to being an executive.
Right.
And I think Elaine looked at that and thought, I don't want this. I don't want to be and yet she revered her parents, loved them, wanted to please them.
Well, she said, they gave her a watch at graduation. She says, take the watch back. I want to go to New York.
Yeah, that's right.
Elaine Stritch grew up in Detroit. So, she wants to go to New York. She wants to be on stage. And she comes to a drama school, and she does get on stage. And part of the resume that I was recounting at the top of great notices was a revival of Pal Joey.
That's right.
And a great song that she had that she didn't understand. Talk about her mother's intellect. Elaine didn't have the intellect.
Well, she didn't have the education. She had not received the kind of rigorous musical and worldly education that someone growing up in cosmopolitan New York gets, whereas if you go to Catholic school and leave and go to acting school when you're also kind of socializing a lot, and as she did, and running around a lot, not to say that her acting training wasn't rigorous, it was, and she was extremely disciplined, but she didn't sort of have that breadth of that kind of sophistication. Exactly. And yet physically she came across as sophisticated. She had a very low voice, which was, lowered further by drinking and cigarettes. She was physically developed. She was tall. She had a presence. And so I think when you have that kind of physicality, people expect, they have certain expectations from you, and then you start to fake them, and you fake it till you make it.
Well, the song Zip, it's probably a disservice to the song to try to describe it, but it's a send up of a Gypsy Rose Lee and a stripper with lyrics that reference Walter Lippmann and Schopenhauer.
Yeah.
And it's just a great song, and she got huge notices for that.
That's right.
Among some of the other shows she did at that time, what else did she do? Bus Stop and Sail Away.
Oh, yeah. But Sail Away came later.
Sail
but
Away.
she was covering for Ethel Merman. That was the thing she was doing while she was in Pal Joey. She was also Ethel Merman's standby. And so she would every night she would go to she tells the story in At Liberty. She would go to the theater and ask Ethel Merman if she would, and Ethel would say, nope, I don't need you, go ahead, run along. And then she'd run over to pal Joey.
Right.
And yeah.
So the late 60s, she's basically on her uppers, and along comes the Lifeline, and it's called Company.
Yeah, that's right.
And a song that we started the show with.
Everybody tries.
Did Sondheim write that for her?
He did. To me, this
Ladies Who Lunch?
Yes, he did. And to me, this song and this show is the heart of the book, and it was what drew me inexorably to her story. It was an absolute fascination and obsession of mine, and it was the most exciting part of researching the book because there's copious papers in the New York Public Library describing the origin of the show. George Furth's papers to start with. He wrote the libretto of Company, and that he took a ton of notes, and they're all there. And to the best of my knowledge, no one had looked at them yet.
And your research shows that Elaine wasn't just a performer, but she contributed or imposed, or whatever the proper verb is, her ideas on how this character, Joanne, should be presented.
That's right. I felt that was the most exciting discovery for me, was to realize that George Furth and Stephen Sondheim and Hal Prince had incorporated some of Elaine's thoughts about being a single person in New York or wherever, and the sort of conflict one experiences between wanting to retain one's individuality and wanting companionship. And they had incorporated some of those ideas into the show, into the writing of the show. And this was even more exciting when I heard that there was going to be a gender-switched version of Company, which is coming to Broadway this spring.
Right. Tough ticket.
Yeah.
Patti LuPone played.
Oh, my goodness.
The Ladies Who Lunch, the character is Joanne, and she made that song her own.
That's right.
It's the song, as I said in the beginning, that made her a legend. Time magazine, I love this quote, said of her performance, it's like, here's to the ladies who lunch, the martinis, it's all about drinking, and Time magazine said, you just know she swallowed the cocktail glasses along with the martinis.
That's great.
It is such a lacerating performance.
That's right. And you feel in that song just sort of the anger about, I think, the sort of the woman's situation. I mean, Hal Prince said, I was fortunate enough to interview Hal Prince before he died for this book, and he, that there's great sort of disagreement over who came up with the idea. At the end of the song, she goes, everybody rise, 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 and she repeats it, and they all disagree about who thought of that. They all take credit for it. She took credit, Stephen Sondheim took credit, and Hal Prince took credit. But Hal Prince, and I think, in some way they all were responsible, but Hal Prince said, there's something kind of feminist about it. And just this kind of like, she's calling on the audience, the female members in the audience, to sort of get up, and I mean, not just female, but it was remarkable.
It's interesting, I think, that the theme of Company is ambivalence. And even though Joanne, her character, is not ambivalent, it's sort of, to me, it's kind of ironic that it's that show that made an ambivalent figure so famous, a star.
Yeah, no, that's right. And it was, I think I don't think she had many sort of successes, but I don't think she really was as fully realized in that show as she was in that show until she did her own show. Until she did
at Liberty.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that too, because she finally wins a Tony. She's 77 years old. And she finally reaches the top of the Broadway mountain.
It's the one, I also interviewed John Lahr, who wrote it with her, and I think his quote was something like, I knew I'd be writing her, her party piece until she dropped. Like, he knew that he was giving her, they were collaborating together on something that she was going to perform forever. It was going to be her, and yet he quite understandably, I think, wanted to be compensated when she continued to perform
Well,
it.
it kind of, I mean, here's the, to me anyway, here's the Stritch story again in microcosm. Success, redemption, self-redemption.
Yes.
But also
Self-sabotage.
self-sabotage,
that's
as
right.
you point out, because she, well, the playbill for the show, the credits for the show said constructed by John Lahr, reconstructed by Elaine Stritch, and she winds up suing him. I mean, he winds up suing her.
Right, and there's an amusing story in the tail of the credits, which is that originally it said constructed by Elaine Stritch, reconstructed by John Lahr, and then as he tells it, she realized the joke was in, so she makes him switch the billing, and there's still posters that have the original billing. Yeah.
Rare.
But I mean, it's
Well, she wanted the last word.
She wanted the last word, exactly. Damn right she did, I think. But there's something too there about this idea of spontaneity. She always conveyed this idea that she was spontaneous and off the cuff, and she was. At a talk show like this, she would be tremendous. But for her one-woman show where she was out there alone, not really alone because she had, the band and an army of people helping her, but alone in performance, that was very carefully scripted. It was scripted to seem spontaneous.
And it did.
Yeah.
I can remember, I think I saw it twice. It was an extraordinary show.
Yeah.
She's, but again, Lahr says, I gave her a format that made her a legend, but she could not be grateful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a little hard to untangle, but I think she was finally a star. And also, I think she was nervous about the idea. She wanted to own her story, and she had been telling her story for so long to so many people. I think writing was a bit of a stumbling block for her. She tried to write her memoir over and over again in her life. And one of the reasons, it was, I couldn't believe she hadn't written a memoir in a way. I didn't understand why At Liberty hadn't become a book. It seemed so obvious. And
Sure.
It just wasn't her writing wasn't her medium. Her medium was conversation, ultimately.
Yeah.
But I felt she deserved a book because her story is so rich, and it's also the story of many other stories. It's the story of women at a very interesting period in America. It's a story of alcohol. There's some of Detroit. It's a story of newspapers. I mean, there were a gossip columnist most specifically.
She was very popular with the gossip columnists.
Yeah.
Winchell and Dorothy Kilgallen and of course Liz Smith became her
best friend. That's right. In Detroit, there were society columnists who would write about the local families and the ladies' pages or whatever, and they're really good writers and interesting people, and that meant so she was used to being a bold-faced name before she was even 15 or 16, just because of who her father was in the community. And so the Stritch girls were, if they went to the country club and wore a bathing suit, it would be written about. So she moves to New York and she's completely comfortable mixing it. She knows it's important to befriend Dorothy Kilgallen, and those gossip columnists are doing their work in nightclubs.
Yeah.
So it's all connected.
Yeah, it all plays together. The drinking, the nightclub, the spreading of the story.
Yeah.
Such a fascinating we've been talking about what a multifaceted faceted character she is, and you look at the negative things people said about her. A couple of actors who worked with her one said she was selfish, childish, panic-stricken, bullying, even accused her of being a kleptomaniac.
Yes. Well, she certainly had a curious relationship with money. I think it was another friend of hers said, Terry Hecker, who went on, became the mayor of Nyack and is a writer herself. She said, it's such a lovely shade of green, or something like that.
She had a little trouble getting her hand deep into her pocket, as they say.
No, that's right. But I guess that doesn't address the kleptomania so much. I mean, I think that she always, when you're an actor, you're always, negotiating for perks and extras. And then when she lived in England, they took a lot of tax out, and she was just always trying to get a little something more.
Another actor who worked with her said that she was so exhibitionist that she would halt a rehearsal if she felt no one was paying her enough attention.
Well, don't you find, I found it so interesting how the clothing, how she'd take off her clothes, because it wasn't, it wasn't sexual, you know. I don't think she was trying to, I think it was just, I think it was partly sort of saying, look, we're all just, it was in a strange way, it was meant to be both an equalizer and an attention grabber.
She didn't seem to care about how she appeared out in public.
When you saw her in the...
Even on stage, she showed up a couple of times in scanties, I think.
Right, and I think that was partly vanity. I mean, Liz Smith said she was very proud of her legs, and, you know, part of it is vanity, but I think part of it is also calling attention to sort of pretension and...
I'd be remiss if I didn't, you know, quote some of the positive things people said about her. Ethel Merman said Stritch's glands work overtime. Noel Coward thought she was absolutely magnificent. Adlai Stevenson, where did you come up? Adlai Stevenson, of all people, says to Elaine Stritch, you are 143 women wrapped in one.
Yeah, well, you know, you have to...
How did he get it?
I mean, you have to, again, there's this nexus of gossip column, Stritch. I mean, you know, he probably said it. It was in the gossip column at the time. It's probably true, but you can't trust everything you read in the papers.
No,
you know?
No, even today.
Even today.
I should point out that despite these actors and producers and others, professionals in the theater who looked at her as a perhaps bad gamble, you know, a drunk, not reliable. Never did they ever say anything negative about her performance.
That's right. I mean,
her performances were...
She delivered. That was a phrase that was used more than once to describe that they always knew she would show up and give the goods, and that the audience would be satisfied, and
well,
then
she
some.
did.
Yeah.
And you talked about the voice. It's not hard to describe, but it's somewhat, as many times as we've both heard that voice and the audience has heard the voice, you kind of still wonder, how with that klaxon do you convey sexuality? Do you convey romance? Do you convey all the things she could as an actress?
Well, I think that was hard. I mean, I think it was hard for her to acquire leading lady status exactly because of that voice being sort of scrambling our signals, you know? I mean, I think that's one of the reasons she wasn't particularly successful as a leading lady for the most part.
Yeah.
She was successful in ensemble pieces as the sort of one making the wry asides, and she was successful on her own.
Sondheim said it was not a singer's voice, it was a performer's voice. And that's a very insightful... It is. I mean, he would know better than anyone, and I feel, you know, if you look at his shows, you see that there are a lot of, I mean, I know how Prince wrote or said that he liked using non-singers. Sometimes, you know, that some of the voices in Company, I mean, the original Company, they're amazing, but you know, some of them, the part of the appeal of the show is that they seem like PTA parents or something, and like they're not only one or two of them are professional dancers too, and there's a sort of amazingly polished amateurism to it all. We have very little time, and I didn't leave enough time for this, but she had an uncomfortable relationship with men and sex too.
Yeah, yeah.
The men she chose were all basically unavailable.
Yeah, and that you know, as a biographer, it's always hard to get into that the intimacy. I mean, Ben Gazzara was one boyfriend, and he wrote quite frankly about their sex life in his memoir, and you know, it seemed to me like her Catholicism got in the way a lot. There's a theory that there might have been repressed homosexuality. I don't think that is necessarily the case. If it was, I don't think she was aware of it particularly, which I guess is what repression is. But I think that she loved romance. She loved men.
And the one man she married, John Bay, was unfortunately both an alcoholic, and you know he at the time when she was an alcoholic and hadn't sworn off drinking.
Yeah, as Prince put it, theirs was a drinking relationship. Also, I think.
But I was going to say, to follow what you were saying, is that there were always questions about his.
That's
sexuality.
right. There were. Liz Smith was, Liz Smith absolutely thought he was gay. I don't know whether or not that was true, but I think that the sex question sort of obscures the gender. For me, Stritch had very sophisticated ideas about gender before those were popular as well. I mean, I just think she wanted to be all genders to all people. That was her sort of, it was an idea she took from Stella Adler, that to be a successful, fully realized actor, you sort of had no gender. And I think she confused her ideas about gender. You know, she's very curvaceous, feminine, yet masculine in self-presentation a lot, low voice. It's interesting.
There's so much more that is interesting about Elaine Stritch. It's all in the book by Alexandra Jacobs, still here. Elaine Stritch. Delightful to have you with us.
Delightful to be here.
And you borrowed the title from another Sondheim anthem, which became Stritch's own, and we'll end with that. Thank you.
I have run the gamut, A to Z. 3 cheers, damn it, say me. I got through all of last year, and I'm here. Christ knows, at least I was there.